Jayla Rocket, we're here with another Transformers unboxing and review. And today we're going to be looking at the Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy. And it's the Powerdasher Cromar. And this was one of these items that I got for Christmas. So I'm always happy when friends and families hook me up with, collections that I'm into. Of course, I have an Amazon wish list for me as well for stuff like this. Though, honestly, most of the time, it's me looking for stuff to buy for me. So, it's not necessarily me wishing for someone else to get it, but me wishing to get it for myself. And I'm sure a lot of collectors out there do the same thing with various sites. So, this wasn't necessarily a Transformer that I was attached to, but it was one that I thought looked cool. So I had it on my list and then was able to pick it up. So you can see the little machine manual that comes with and the different steps to transform it. Most likely I'm going to be looking at Toys R Us, which is RUSS, or EMGO 316 for the transformation. But before we get to that, we're going to take it out of its plastic prison and take a look at what it looks like in its robot mode. A few clips here. Not too bad. Tell me what you guys think if you like the white background. My other black one, it got messed up. My cat got to it. So I kind of switched back to, I call it the Dan Larson special, because that's just who I watched during COVID with his in the photo booth. And I really got into collecting because of that. So if you see my reviews before, I talk about like how something feels as far as like the plastic, how sometimes you have that heavier type plastic, you have that lighter type plastic, and then you have the cheap feeling plastic. And I put this in the category of light. It doesn't feel cheap, but it feels light, which I don't have a problem with. And what I say about cheap is you could tell if you go to like a dollar store, you buy like a really cheap Chinese knockoff, and I'm talking about super Chinese knockoff, not like some of the decent KOs that you can get. And then when you feel the plastic, it just feels like, it almost feels like the plastic that you would get for a paper plate, a plastic plate at a barbecue. It doesn't feel good at all. This isn't that. It's lighter, but it feels like when I'm moving it around, it doesn't feel like it's gonna fall apart. And that's usually, even though, as a collector, most of the time I just do some poses and stuff and it stays there. But, I've had it where you start moving things around and things are just falling out all over the place. And I am not rough with my toys. But let's look at this overall. You have the feet down here, which I guess could also be part of the transformation. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know this guy a lot. But obviously, you could play around with the foot there. And then you can turn it around more at the hip, because it does bend at the knee up here. But the turn is closer to the hip. And then, of course, you can move this all the way out here. Oh, but see that? Now this I don't complain about necessarily, because I know it just comes out, but it's just, man, it just seems like it's so easy. I barely did anything and that happened. So it's like, it's kind of weird. I don't really have a fault with it because for me, I'm posing. But I wonder if there's kids who's playing with that, like how would that feel? Like you barely touch it and a piece comes out and you have to put it back. As a kid, that might not happen, putting it back, or it might end up getting lost. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. As far as got your waist turn, and then as far as arm, looks like since it's part of a gun, okay, so you have the gun, which you can remove, and then you got the elbow that you can turn, and then you got the shoulder, which I think is possibly also part of the transformation, and then the head, which you can turn around. Can't really do any up and down or anything like that. So this figure overall, I would say, looks kind of standard as far as like a battler transformer, where I can see the robot mode looks well. Like you see it looks like a robot in its mode. And I like the fact that it has its guns on it, but then I assume when you take it off, you still have the gun that you can then fit into the hand. So I always think that's cool, because then if you had other pieces that fit in here, then you could have a mix of where it's like both shoot it and wear it, which is awesome. So let's get a quick little profile on the spinner here. And I like the color scheme too. I mean, that goes with it. Obviously, for the people that know this character well, I mean, it'll be like, duh, it should look like that. But for me, since I don't know this character well, I always like black and red are one of my favorite color mixes. So I really like how that looks. I like just the design of it, like all the cuts and the sculpts of it. It really gives it that look of robot and technology. So I really like that. I love the little silver here that you can see on the chest area. I don't know if these are supposed to be those missiles. It kind of reminds me of like the missiles that you would see in some of the Japanese anime, where it's like those swarm missiles, which is cool. The red Autobot symbol looks nice. The chrome, like, it's not chrome, but it's like has that shiny look to it on the cockpit, is really sweet. I like the yellow on the head and all that. And then here, even though I know this is part of the transformation, I kind of like these. It's like, I don't know if these can also count as weapons or how it would be. The little part, and it looks like you can adjust this, so it's like, it could look like rear cannon or jets. And then there's different areas that I assume we could also put in weapons, so you could really deck this guy out and make him like super warriored out. But I gotta say, overall, I'm liking the way it looks, and it's like, it's not hard to get it to stand, and it just looks really good in its robot mode. So let's take a look at what it looks like in its alternate mode. Alright, so in this case I actually decided to go with the instruction manual, and it wasn't really difficult. This one was interesting because in this case it was more of pulling parts apart to do the transformation and then putting it back together. And I can show a little bit of that, but first let's just talk about the vehicle mode. I really like the way it looks and it transforms. Basically you can see like the head is kind of like hidden in there, but everything else is kind of switchable, where basically you can pull off the arms, and then when you reattach it, that's kind of like the flying mechanism here that you can see. And then those red tips that look like antennas that were connected here, they fit here on front, so that gives you that blaster type missile look for the front. And then of course you got, you know, the rockets and I guess the propulsion from back here. Then you can see also where you bend the knees, and then the knees back here end up being these rockets in the back, which looks kind of cool. And then see, like, even underneath, like, since the head is up on top, like it still looks much more like a vehicle. And you can adjust all this, because like I said, all of these come off, the chest comes off, and then you put it back. Then you can see the cockpit up here, and then you still even have little holes, even though it would look weird, but I guess depending, because I think they would fit here. Yeah, this is his hands. So you could technically just take these and put it again in his hand, and then all of a sudden you have like this rear mounted missile attack thing as well. So I have to say that's pretty cool. I have to just say, overall, I'm still more of it. I mean, I know that, like, as far as having it exactly lined up, I can do a better job of lining things up. But overall, I prefer it in the robot mode. I just think it looks cool. There's nothing wrong with this per se, but I usually have my own thing where it's like, okay, do I really like this in vehicle mode where I might want to display it as that? Or do I like it more in robot mode and display it? In this case, I like it more in robot mode. So the last thing I'll show is kind of like what I was talking about. So basically, these parts come off. So that's the first part. And then the actual chest part comes off. And you can see what's really good about this is that it's really simple to see that where the peg goes. And then when you bend the knees back, there's little holes here that lock in. So you see that to that, and that's how you do that. And then it's basically a rotation. And then you have the chest part here And then when you bend the cockpit back down and you bend this back part back down, then you have the head, and then you turn the head around. I did see some video reviews where when you turn the head, it came off. Luckily, mine didn't do that, but just be aware that I have seen some videos, more than one, where that happened. So at that point, you can see there's a peg up here. So then you fold these down, and then you put the chest on, and then you bend these down here, and then that locks in, and then you have these that come down, these down here, so from here down, and then you can put the arm in there. Oops, wrong side. And then there you go. Basically now I have the guns in the wrong hand, but you know, this is probably the best. Oh, of course you can bend up the feet down here at the bottom, but this is probably the closest that you guys will get to me doing transformations, except maybe on G1. But oops, but that's how it looks. So I have to say, I like that transformation. It's interesting where you pull it apart to build it. You know, there's others in the line that I have come across that do that, but I really have to say that I think that's really cool. And of course you can bend some of these back up, that like they split, so you could do two up, then you have the ones down, then you can put the missiles back there if you want, or you can leave it like this. So I have to say, very cool. I'm really thankful to get this for Christmas. I think it's a cool figure. I'm definitely going to keep it in robot mode, but let me know what you guys thought of this figure. Of course, if you like these type of reviews, please considering leaving us a like, and of course we always like to hear your comments. So please, if you have something to say, I respond to all comments unless you know you're rude or something like that. But besides that, thank you so much for geeking out with me on this latest review, and until next time, remember my motto: no discount, no deal. Catch you next time.